point out, Mr. Chairman?
The Trinity Barge Canal may be in final jeopardy. Hundreds of Texans, mostly longtime supporters of reservoirs, flood control efforts, and other projects up and down the Trinity River, spent the day in Washington pushing their favorite programs. Congressmen Jim Collins, Jim Wright, Dale Milford, and Ray Roberts from the Dallas-Fort Worth area and several others attended the Trinity River reception, a prelude to appearances before House and Senate committees today seeking full appropriations. Alan Steelman of Dallas also favored most appropriations, but asked for deletion of $1 million related to navigation and high bridges for the navigation channel. He was supported by citizens and ecology groups who helped defeat a navigation bond issue. Trinity Improvement spokesman urged approval of everything in the president's budget, which includes locks, a high bridge, and the canal design, all for navigation. Chairman of the House panel, Joe Irvin, told me he's not inclined to force something the people of Texas don't want, as they said in March. Another member said flatly navigation money should be deleted because of that vote. The decision these committees make in about a month will likely spell life or death for the barge canal. This is Roger McDonald, Channel 8 News in Washington.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. All right,
Mr. President, as we move 30, this would allow us to, I think, to get a bid that would be more reflective of what the cost might be.
We're not fine.
That's right.
Jennings is exactly right. We don't mean to increase them for school year. 8.24, we're recommending.
Possible types of security systems for individual rooms. So this, we will be seeking
We have an option to go up to 30.
We're voting on 821, 22, and 23. Is that right? All right, so here, motion.
The complaint seemed simple enough. Bedford Councilman Bob Gaines and Pat Sullivan felt that some of the roads in their fair city needed help, badly. Most citizens agreed. So the councilman vowed not to eat. Well, at least not much, until action was taken. The situation obviously is not yet rectified, but then it's nice to see something is being done. The councilmen had agreed to continue their fast until work was begun here, and they said they'd call me and let me know when the work began and when they were going to have their first meal. I got that call yesterday. I had to tell them, gee, fellas, I'm sorry, I'm all booked up today. Could we do it tomorrow, say at lunch? They didn't show. I don't understand. Maybe fasting is not the sort of thing a gentleman should get pushy about. Jerry Taft, Channel 8 News on the Move on Bedford-Euless Road in Bedford. Butterfield is definitely not your basic stodgy bureaucrat. He's bright, cheerful, interesting. As we walked through the Air Traffic Control Center at Greater Southwest, he asked the same questions you or I might ask about how this gadget or that worked, how the people liked their jobs. One controller remarked to me aside, it's kind of nice to see a guy who doesn't try to act like he knows it all and is bored stiff with having to be here. Butterfield asked me to be sure to make one point in this report. The FAA wants women to work in such facilities as these and would encourage applications. Jerry Taft, Channel 8 News, reporting.
Treat us to some iced tea, yeah.
Okay, good. Let me see if I can get another.
I believe that in case the voters change their minds or in case another way of financing is found, which is very likely, for instance, something might happen where the federal government finances the whole thing rather than depending on an ad valorem tax in the area, which I think would find broad support. So I think it should be. I think the planning should continue.
The committees did not make a commitment today, but the chairman of the House panel, Joe Irvin, told me after the meeting that he is not inclined to force anything on the people of Texas they don't want themselves. An even stronger statement comes from Republican member John Rhodes of Arizona.
Well, until the people of Texas decide they want the navigation channel, I'm going to go along with them. In my own hometown, we had a freeway defeated the other day, which I had supported, and but when the people don't want the freeway, I'm not going to be for it, and I don't see any reason why I should treat Texans any different than I treat Arizonans.
What these committees decide on is critical because it's doubtful that specific projects would be removed when the bill reaches the floor of the House or the Senate. So what these committees decide very well could mean life or death for all kinds of projects along the Trinity River, but particularly for that navigation canal.
Mrs. Green, why did you read this letter tonight?
I felt that it was my responsibility to read it. I wrote it as an individual. However, in the paper it appeared that connected with the PTA at Longfellow. I wrote the letter because I was most upset that Mr. Ray chose this particular time to remove his son from private school. It's a time when all of us who believe in public school, and especially those of us who are involved in integrated schools, are fighting the white flight from the public school to the private schools in the suburbs. And certainly the defection of the president of the Dallas School Board does great harm in the eyes of the public to our cause.
How does this integrated PTA work here at Longfellow?
It works beautifully. It works just like people working together. Some of us happen to be black and some of us happen to be white, but that really makes no difference when we're working in a school where all our children are involved in trying to improve their education.
Longfellow is indeed integrated. As you can see here tonight, the student population is about 50% black and about 50% white. This kind of integration is not the result of busing. It's the result of black people and white people living together in the same neighborhood. John Tackett, Channel 8 News, Longfellow Elementary.
It was at this service station, at the intersection of Abrams and Forest Lane in far north Dallas, that the life of 17-year-old Richard Allen O'Neill came to an end. His body was discovered on the floor of the station behind the cash register at about 1:30 this morning by a motorist who was concerned when no attendant came forth to service his car. At mid-afternoon, police had no leads to the slayer. They know that robbery was the motive since the money in the cash register was missing. The 17-year-old youth had been shot in the back of the head. His death is the 83rd of 1973, the 83rd murder for the city of Dallas. At this time last year, there had been 86. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move.
From all across the state they came today, their badges taped over in black, red carnations worn in memory of still another man who lost his life because he wore the uniform of the law. This time the solemn words were said for William Vernon Welch, 30 years old, shot to death Sunday night when he interrupted an armed robbery of a convenience store in the 4300 block of Fort Worth's Camp Bowie Boulevard. This afternoon, Welch's body, escorted by his wife Mary Lou and daughters Angela and Melissa, was borne to Comanche, Texas for burial. A memorial fund for the family has been established. Contributions may be mailed to the Officer William Vernon Welch Memorial Fund in care of Mike Moncrief, 1400 W.T. Wagoner Building, Fort Worth. Jerry Taft, Channel 8 News, reporting.
I think they're pretty excited. I just hope they don't get too tense. A lot of times, especially playing in a ballpark like this, you have a tendency, I think, to maybe get a little tight sometimes.
What does a coach tell them right before they go into a game facing a team like the University of Texas, which is a noted powerhouse and won the Southwest Conference? What are you going to tell your boys?
Well, I just hope we stay up with them. If we can stay close to them, I hope we can. They've got a great ball club. They've always had a great ball club. There's not much you can tell the boys. They played all year, and it's a little too late to do anything then.
We've had quite some time off since our last regular scheduled ball game, but we wound up the regular season in pretty good shape. We beat a real fine ball club, Pan Am, 3 out of 4 game series, and that at least finished our schedule on a good note. And of course, we immediately were in hopes of getting an invite to the Area 6 playoffs, NCAA playoffs. And other than standing around 3 or 4 days find out about that, we were invited, and we're very happy to be here. I think we're ready.
What do you think about going up against the University of Arkansas in your first game?
I think they're going to be real tough. I'd heard conflicting reports about the University of Arkansas, how strong they were, that they hadn't played the type schedule some of the other teams that be here had, but after checking their credentials, so to speak, and their stats, I'm convinced that we're playing one of the better ball clubs up here.
As far as team-wise, it's been a month since we've played, although we have played 4 exhibition games, and I don't feel as though we peaked too early. In fact, I think we were pretty loose and not too motivated this week.
What do you think about coming into this tournament against the University of Texas? Would you like to beat them most of all?
Well, I feel probably on paper and talent-wise, depth-wise, and so on, Texas probably has the edge on paper. I don't, and I know the kids don't feel as though there's any mental block there as far as Arkansas is concerned. We haven't played Texas in baseball since I've been here, and I understand the University of Arkansas hasn't in a long time, and so I don't think there's any, we just hope that we can do the best job we can and play game by game.
Coach, what's
Well, with all the flack going on these days about Casa Mañana's battle with Actors Equity Association, some people have forgotten that there's still a production going on inside here. That production is South Pacific, the 1973 summer season opener. Of course, your evening at Casa Mañana begins when you confront the Actors Equity picket line just outside the theater. Ticket holders are admonished by the great and near great, many of whom have been on the stage inside Casa Mañana, not to view the amateur production going on tonight. Well, once you make your decision to cross the line and come inside, the atmosphere isn't unlike what you'd find in any other theater during those few moments before the production begins. Sharon Garrison, a Fort Worth gal, takes the lead role in this production as Nellie Forbush, a Navy nurse during World War II who falls in love with a wealthy, middle-aged planter. Well, up front in the business office is Casa's general manager, Mel Dacus, who had to pull plenty of strings this year to put together a non-union summer season. Well, despite words to the contrary, Dacus contends that his non-union company is as professional as any equity production.
Well, do you think the situation and the pickets and all that has caused some kind of tension on the cast
yes.
of the production?
Oh, yes. I think there's no question that the tension has been caused. We, however, got through most of that tension at opening night because it was like a spring that had been wound up. What's going to happen? What's really going to happen, when these pickets show up? And will the audience come? And if they do come, will they enjoy the show? Will they think it is an amateur show, or will they think it's a professional show?
Casa Mañana's management says they can't afford an equity contract. After a full day of negotiating on Monday, talks broke off when theater management offered to go the minimum wage for some, but not all of its performers. Now the question remains, is this production as good as it might have been with equity performers? Well, if reviews are any indication, the reviewers generally praise the opening night performance. But several people pointed out that while the leads are fine, replacing some of the other actors with equity people could have improved what's regarded as a fair to average rendering.
Well, what would you say to someone who called the cast of South Pacific a bunch of union busters or scabs?
I think that's a rather academic question. I don't believe that I've heard anybody mention that.
Just hypothetically.
Hypothetically? Oh, I think they would be in error. I think they would be in total error. They're not attempting to bust any union at all. We're attempting to do present professional theater to the people of Fort Worth, irrespective of whether they belong to any organization or association.
Now, there's a feeling among Fort Worth theater people that Casa Mañana's musicals have been slipping over the years, and that the theater's evolved into a sort of high-grade form of community theater, rather than the professional equivalent of Dallas's summer musicals that Casa at one time wanted to be. Now, at today's prices, a Casa Mañana ticket is a bargain. $4 will get you any seat in the house most nights. It's a good bet that a full equity contract would probably raise ticket prices. But it's a better bet that the theater would probably come back from this community theater status to a slicker kind of production house, which I think most Fort Worthites would like to have. Well, so far, Fort Worth Casa Mañana audiences have been supporting the non-union operation, but I think it'll take a little time to see the long-range effect of the strike, and to see if Casa Mañana audiences will demand their own form of professional summer musicals, and pay the ticket price that would probably go along with them. For News 8 on the Move, this is Arch Campbell at Casa Mañana Playhouse in Fort Worth.
Over 100 deaths were due to trench cave-ins last year, and the effort is to try to reduce these cave-in accidents to zero.
Ms. Anderson is...
You've been formally introduced.
So many things until I'm sort of overwhelmed. I've yet that. But you bear with.
These pairs of good-looking legs belong to girls training to be airline hostesses for Braniff. What you don't expect to see among them is this well-covered pair of male appendages belonging to 23-year-old Mike Peebles. Now, Mike may not fit in leg-wise, but he does fit in job-wise. He's one of 5 guys training to be airline hosts in Dallas. Any man can apply, married or not, as long as he's 20 years old with 2 years of college behind him. In class, the men, like the women, learn how to serve drinks 30,000 feet above ground. In this case, I was the guinea pig passenger for Terry Jones. Terry told me after graduating from college in marketing, he decided he wanted to get his playing out of the way before settling down to a 9-to-5 job. I asked him what it's like to be one of the few men among so many hostesses.
Oh, it's hell. Really hell. I mean, I'm probably the only one here not out to get married.
Do they regard you as their big brother image?
I think so. It's too bad, too.
The girls training to be hostesses don't seem to mind their new colleagues at all. In fact, the consensus is the more men, the better.
I think it'll be great. It'll be a big help for the heavy work. A lot of the work, especially on the longer flights, is very physically tiring for a woman, and you really need the strength of a man to help you.
So you're just going to take them along to carry that extra load.
Exactly.
4 men have already graduated from the academy. One of the first 4, Mike Gregory, was at the training session this morning, and I asked him if the men passengers would rather have pretty girls serve them than men.
I think once they get used to us, they'll find that that we serve just as well as the girls, even though we don't look as good as they do.
So from now on, passengers flying out of Dallas on Braniff shouldn't be surprised at all to hear a male voice offering them coffee, tea, or milk. The voice may be deeper, but the drink should taste the same. Martha McIntyre, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Shell.
How is it?
You get the, when you focus that thing, you get the change in focus, right, through this side.
Yep. That is correct. Yeah.
All right, that'll be fine. That's right. Mm-hmm. All right, sir. Thank you, Jack. Bye.
I'm as normal as blueberry pie. No more a smart little girl with no heart. I have found me a wonderful guy. I am in a conventional dither with a conventional star in my eye. And you will note there's a lump in my throat when I speak of that wonderful guy. I'm as trite and as gay as a daisy in May, a cliche coming true. I'm romantic and bright as a moon-happy night pouring out on the dew. I'm as corny as Kansas in August, high as a flag on the 4th of July. If you'll excuse an expression I use, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love with the wonderful
you can name that is anything like a day. We feel restless, we feel blue, we feel lonely and intrigued. Oh, we feel every kind of feeling, but the feeling of relief. We feel hungry as the wolf as Winnie Midred Riding Hood. What don't we feel? We don't feel good. Lots of things in life are beautiful, but brother, there is one particular thing that is nothing whatsoever in any way, shape, or form like any other. There is nothing like a day, nothing in the world. There is nothing you can name that is anything like a day. Nothing else is ever the same, nothing in the world.
Go through my instructions properly, Dave.
If I don't fall down.
What did you see?
Sorry, he's at the midterm and making what we call the chart, right? And what she's doing, remember what she told you before? She's asking the passenger how to serve. We serve a little bit, and we leave the glass, of course, with the orange juice, and the other one.
be right away to the lunch or the dinner. So.
Then with the strainer, put it in the glass. Get one to put it in. That's all. I'll take those out. Your drink.
Okay, that's
Okay,
the
good.
emptiest drink I've ever had.
With a straw.
Thank you. Okay.
In order not to lose time. Okay? And then? Okay. The almonds. Okay? Then we go on.
Casual.
Now, how long have you been flying?
3 weeks.
3 weeks so
Right.
far. Do you like it?
I love it.
Male host that Braniff's ever had?
Well, I
Yeah.
If the attitude of most Texas congressmen is an indication, the Trinity Navigation Canal will go forward in spite of a turndown by voters in March. Jim Collins, Jim Wright, Dale Milford, and Ray Roberts were among congressmen attending a reception given here in Washington by Trinity boosters. They all talked favorably about the project. The reception was a prelude to hearings today on funds for the Trinity. County judges from 15 of the 17 counties in the Trinity Valley came to Washington with over 100 other business and civic leaders to speak for the funds. One Texas representative is an exception. Alan Steelman of Dallas opposes funds for navigation projects in the Trinity system, although he favors the other projects like Tennessee Colony Reservoir and flood control plans. Steelman is supported in testifying before the committees by 5 North Texans representing the citizen and ecology groups that successfully fought that Trinity bond plan in March. But no Texans serve on either the House or Senate subcommittees, and their decision could mean life or death to the canal, since the appropriations probably would not be changed on the floor if they're put in the bill by the committee or left out by the committee. This is Roger McDonald, Channel 8 News in Washington.
The Public Works Subcommittee of the House Appropriations Committee listened to hundreds of Texans talk about all kinds of water projects, mostly along the Trinity Basin. A similar committee in the Senate listened to the Texans this afternoon. Everyone agreed on funding Trinity work, such as reservoirs and flood control. But Congressman Alan Steelman and spokesman for several citizen and ecology groups opposed about $1 million, which would be for design of the navigation channel and pay for building bridges extra high for navigation. Steelman wants the navigation plans killed, but he hopes that the anti-navigation vote in March doesn't kill the rest of the Trinity projects. Trinity Improvement spokesman put the emphasis on reservoirs and flood control, but they ask for all of the funds in the budget, and that includes money for the barge canal, as expressed by Congressman Charles Wilson of Lufkin.